I'm here with author and instructor Jill Wiseman. And Jill, you have a great idea for Kumihimo, how to get started. You make it seem really simple.
Well, it is really simple, and a lot of people can get intimidated because there's new terms and there's new little pieces and parts to play with. But in truth, it's a very simple process.
Well, I can't wait to see what we do. Let's take a look at these bracelets, though, because these are gorgeous.
Thanks. I love crystal, and when I made this very first necklace here, I did it with all crystal. It makes a big impact, but the problem is that it also takes a lot of money. So one way to bring down the cost is to incorporate the seed beads and the crystals together in the aqua and silver version that we're going to do today. That way you're using half the amount of crystals, but you still get a lot of bling.
Oh yeah, it looks gorgeous.
Absolutely. So the way this works is you're just using a braiding cord. This is just kind of a medium weight braiding cord, and to figure out the length that you need, you want it to be 3 times your finished length.
Okay.
And we're using 8 cords. So in this case, if I were making a 7-inch bracelet, I'd want these cords to be 21 inches long. So I've already pre-cut these cords. I just tied an overhand knot and have tucked it right in the center of our Kumihimo loom here. Then on each cord, I'm going to load beads. And for this bracelet, we're going to have 4 cords that have size 6 seed beads, and then 4 cords that have 3mm Swarovski crystals. So once you've got finished loading all of the beads on your cord, you're going to take a little bobbin and just wind the end of the cord up. This rounded part of the bobbin pops over, and that will hold these beads on while we're working.
Yeah, it keeps everything neat and tidy.
Absolutely. Now, to get the pattern that we're going to be creating today, it is important where your cords are put on the loom. In this case, you want to put the seed bead cords at the top of the loom and on the right side. And then you want to put the crystals on the bottom of the loom and on the left side. So you'll have 1 cord on either side of the black dots. But the simple maneuvers that we're going to make are, we're going to take the top right cord and we're going to move it to the first open slot on the bottom right. Then we take the bottom left cord and move it to the first open slot on the top on the left.
All right.
So everything on the right stays to the right, everything on the left stays to the left. Then we turn quarter turn. Do the exact same thing. Top right to bottom right, bottom left to top left.
Easy.
Quarter turn. One of my students actually taught me a little mnemonic for this that can help people memorize it. It's down right, uplifting, up left.
That's great.
And one thing you do want to make sure that you're doing is be consistent with your quarter turn. You always want to turn the same direction every time. This is an inexpensive foam loom. If you need to, take a pen and mark an arrow in the direction that you're turning.
Great idea.
Yeah. You'll notice that right now I am not dropping any beads. And that is because we have to create a little tail at the end, both at the beginning and at the end of the bracelet, of just cord. That's going to help us attach our clasp later on. So you want to end up having about 1/4 inch or so of just cord. And you just see that I'm just making these same movements over and over again. You start getting addicted to the little sound of the bobbins clacking together.
I bet.
So once you've got a little 1/4 inch of tail going, then you're finally ready to start adding your beads. And what you'll do is you'll pick up 1 bead. I like to separate it out from the rest. I let it drop down to the center of the loom here, and then it's going to slide right underneath this cord, this very first cord that it comes to. This cord is sitting on top of the other cord, so it's a little bit higher. So that bead just slides underneath there, and then I finish my move. Now I'm going to do the same thing on my bottom up. I release the bead, I push it in right underneath the very first cord it comes to, and finish my move and my quarter turn. And you'll just drop a bead in, and I think of it as sliding into base. It's sliding underneath that first cord. And you'll drop a bead every single time.
That's a good way to remember it.
Mm-hmm.
So you always want your bead to be as close to the center of the cord that you're making
Correct.
as possible.
And everything that creates the pattern was in our setup. So at this point, we don't have to worry about what beads are going where, because we had the cords in the certain order when we started, it's automatically going to make this pattern.
Great.
Once you get all of your beads beaded in, and actually you're going to want to check your length before you get that far. Your clasp and your end caps will usually add about 1.5 inches of length. So if I were making a 7-inch bracelet, I'd want my beaded section to be 6¼ inches.
Okay.
So you'll use your tape measure to check that out. At that point, you're going to have this, and this has got the little tails at the top and at the bottom. You're going to want to use some kind of beading thread, or even a sewing thread would be fine, to bind off this end, just so that you can cut off the end.
Okay, well, we're just about out of time, but I'd love to make sure that we know how to finish.
Okay, so once you've bound off the end, you're going to cut this little guy off, put glue all over that end, and then use a little crimp-on clasp, crimp-on end cap to crimp that on.
Perfect.
And then jump ring for your clasp.
And you're done.
And then you're done.
We're ready.